this morning?
No.
Well, the essence of this briefing is to update you on the work that the Commission has done in the last 1 year. Most of you are aware that the current chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Amaewhule, assumed the leadership of the Commission on the 18th of October 2023. Just over a week ago, marked 1 year at the helm of affairs of this agency. And we thought it was necessary to bring the media together to let you know the incredible work that he has accomplished in 1 year of steering the ship of this commission. It is not an easy task to lead the EFCC being the foremost anti-graft agency in our country. And I'm convinced that in 1 year, he has done quite remarkably well. This will be self-evident at the time I conclude this briefing. Usually when media people encounter us, the first question they would like to ask us is, how many prosecutions, how many recoveries have you recorded in 1 year? And that will inform all of us this morning that in terms of high-profile arrest and investigation, in the last 1 year of the Commission, at least 4 former governors were investigated and prosecutions are currently ongoing in court. Some of them, you are familiar with them. We are all aware of the case of Yahya Bello, former governor of Kogi State, who currently faces 2 separate charges before the Federal High Court, Abuja, and the FCT High Court, Abuja. One is a money laundering charge, another one for diversion of funds and criminal breach of trust. We also have the case of Abdul Fattah Ahmed, former governor of Kwara State, who is also being prosecuted by the Commission. The remaining 2 are William Kanu, Anambra State, and Darius Dixon Ishaku, former governor of Taraba State. In terms of ministers that we have currently under prosecution by the EFCC, I think I can mention at least 3 former ministers that are currently under prosecution for several corruption cases. Among them are Mr. Salim Maman, former Minister of Power, and then Ulu Agure, also a former Minister of Power and Steel Development. The last is Hadi Sirika, former Minister of Aviation. All of them are currently standing trial on corruption charges in various courts. The details of the cases against them are already in public domain, and at the end of this meeting, I will share this document with you, and we'll have the details of the charges against them, so I don't need to go through all those details. In terms of asset recovery, quite a lot has been done by the Commission in the last 1 year. For monetary recovery, for instance, I want to report that in the last 1 year, the EFCC recorded, in terms of the Naira recovery part of it, 248 billion, 750 million, 49,365 Naira. The dollar component amounts to 105 million, 423,190 US dollars. We also have a recovery in terms of pounds recovery, 53,133 British pounds. There is also a euro component of it, 172,547 euros. There are other foreign currencies that I don't think I should go through all of that. You have recoveries in Australian dollars, the yuan, and several other occurrences. You will find details in this document that I will share with you. That is about monetary recovery. But I also like to report that we not only recover funds, we also return funds that are recovered by the Commission. In terms of recovery of assets and return of those assets, late September, we call up to this Commission where the Commission returned $180,200 and 53 vehicles that EFCC recovered for victims of cybercrime in Canada. We invited officials of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the Canadian High Commission, the Commission here, where these assets were returned back to them. The interesting thing about some of these vehicles that were recovered by the Commission was that they were shipped from Canada to Nigeria, and we were able to trace those vehicles, recover them, and return them to victims of crime, which, as far as I'm concerned, was quite remarkable. The Commission in September, specifically in September 20th, also returned €5,100 to a victim of romance scam in Spain, one has butchered elms through the Spanish ambassador in Nigeria. Those are foreign victims of crime that had the privilege of being restituted through the EFCC. This gesture was not only extended to foreign victims only. The Commission, within the year under review, also invited the Executive Governor of Enugu State, Dr. Peter Obi. He was here to receive 14 properties that were finally forfeited by court through the efforts of the EFCC back to Enugu State government. And I'm sure the people of Enugu will enjoy the benefit of those assets that were recovered through the work of the EFCC and its chairman, Mr. Ola Olokoye. In terms of collaboration with agencies and governments across the world, the EFCC prides itself as perhaps one of the agencies in Nigeria that collaborate more with other law enforcement or development partners across the world. In fact, the nature of the crimes that we investigate is such that without collaboration, you can't actually do more. The world now is a global village. There is nothing that happens in Nigeria that is an isolation. You cannot succeed in this criminal enterprise without having network across the world. And for enforcement activities, you can't succeed without having a network globally. So we value collaboration. And the chairman of the EFCC currently is the president of a body that is called the Network of Anti-Corruption Institutions in West Africa, NACIWA. What this body does is to bring together all anti-corruption agencies in West Africa with the sole aim of fighting financial crimes in the sub-region, especially money laundering. And this year, I think in August, thereabout, the annual General Assembly was held in Nigeria, and the president of that body, who is the chairman of the EFCC, was at the head of that meeting, where they looked at the protocol, the ECOWAS protocol on the fight against corruption and strengthening collaboration among institutions in the sub-region. And that meeting has given further impetus to the need for collaboration among all the law enforcement agencies in our region. And the essence is to ensure that we deal decisively the issue of corruption and money laundering in West Africa. At the global level, we have also charted new frontiers in international collaboration and synergy. I want to report that under Nkurunziza, for instance, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, the sitting director of the American Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, visited the EFCC. That for us was a mark of endorsement and validation of the incredible work that the EFCC has done in terms of fighting transnational organized crime. We have been partnered over the years with the FBI, not only FBI, even the UK National Crime Agency and similar law enforcement organizations around the world, working with them side by side to ensure that all acts of criminality that has Nigerian dimension to it are dealt with. And he was here expressing happiness, expressing gladness with the work that we're doing, working with them to fight crimes like money laundering and cyber crimes generally. So we had that privilege of hosting him, and no other agency has had that benefit. I want to also talk about another area that we focused on during this 1 year. When the chairman appeared before the Senate during his confirmation, he made a promise. He said he was going to use the work of the EFCC to stimulate the economy. We realized, or we recall, that soon after this administration came on board, the economy started having some difficulties, especially the value of the naira, the value plummeted, and every organ of government tried to rally around the administration to ensure that this value of the currency is protected, and the EFCC was no exception. The chairman set up a special task force on naira abuse and dollarization of the economy. That task force has presence in all the 14 locations where we currently have offices in Nigeria. And through its efforts, we are all aware about what the EFCC did in terms of going after currency racketeers and those who either stamp or abuse the naira. And we saw a few celebrities arrested and prosecuted successfully for naira abuse. I want to report that more than 35 convictions have been secured as a result of this initiative. And the message has been sent forcefully that we will not tolerate abuse of the naira. Secondly, that dollarization of the economy is not permitted. The naira remains the legal tender, the only legal tender in the country. No other legal tender is acceptable within the Nigerian political sphere. That's a statement that EFCC has made, that anywhere you go and they are giving you invoice in foreign currency, you have to reject it because only the naira is acceptable within our country. Then I come to the issue of prevention of corruption. The chairman has said that under him, there is going to be a shift of focus away from enforcement to prevention. That is no longer just a statement of intent. There are already activities on the ground to convert the vision into reality. And part of the activities that we have executed in the last 1 year driving this prevention focus include, number one, we organized a summit in January, bringing together religious leaders, members of the academia, and even youth organizations across the country for a summit on religion, the youth, and the fight against corruption. On that occasion, we also formally launched a document that we call the Interfaith Preaching and Teaching Manual. The essence of that document is to provide a basis for religious body to use religion as an instrument for reorientation, because we believe that the involvement of youth in criminality is more or less caused by a problem of poor orientation. And that forum was designed to get religious leaders to come on board the process of trying to change the mindset of our youth. Apart from that initiative, just 2 weeks ago, the Commission also organized the National Cybercrime Summit, which was designed essentially to provide an alternative to cybercrime. Because we believe that our youth, they are extremely skilled in technology. But the unfortunate thing is that they are deploying their skills in the wrong direction by using those skills for criminality. And the chairman felt that, look, we can't just be prosecuting these youngsters, prosecuting them, getting them convicted, and sending them to prison. Some of them, for now, they don't realize the implication of conviction. Once you are convicted, there are so many things that you can't do in our country. Or he said, no, look, let's save them this terrible future by providing avenues through which we can use their skills. They can use their skills meaningfully to contribute to national development. And that's the reason why that summit was there. We brought in stakeholders from all aspects of the economy, people from the tech ecosystem, people from the banking sector, some from mainstream government departments, to provide insight and ideas on how the youth can properly harness these skills that they have and use them meaningfully to improve their own personal lives and contribute to national economy. And that summit was a huge success. The result of the engagement is still being processed, and going forward, it will form the basis for more initiatives by the Commission in tackling cybercrime. At that event, the Commission unveiled what we call a Rapid Response Center. And the chairman also announced that the Commission was establishing a cybercrime center at the EFCC Academy. The Cybercrime Center is an initiative between the EFCC and one of the foremost fintech in Nigeria, FUBARA. And what is the reason behind the Cybercrime Center? It is also tallies with the objective of the National Cybercrime Summit. The center is meant to provide opportunity for cybercrime research by youth who are involved in cybercrime or youth who have technological skills. The center will provide them opportunity to harness the abundant opportunities that are available in all the sectors of the economy, and also work closely with the EFCC in tackling these menace. The groundwork has been done, and more work will still be done in this area. Those are two key initiatives. Apart from the Cybercrime Center, the Rapid Response Center, on the other hand, is designed to receive real-time information about cybercrime, process those information, and ensure that there's immediate remedial action, mitigating action from the Commission. To explain that further, currently, when crimes are committed, especially cybercrime, or they are being committed, and you want to report to the EFCC, you may not get an immediate response. But with this Rapid Response Center, once you put a call to the center that a crime is being committed, those who are manning that desk will activate the process within the Commission that will ensure that there is an immediate response to you. With that initiative, we are hopeful that there will be a drop in the level of cyber crime that we receive in this country. So those are key preventive measures that have come on the table of Mr. Olukorede as he strives to deal with issues of prevention of economic and financial crimes and corruption generally. Lastly, in terms of prevention initiatives by the EFCC, the one that is very, very close to my heart, which the chairman has rolled out, is the commissioning of the EFCC radio 97.3 FM. I'm sure some of us have been listening to that station. It is the first anti-corruption station in the whole of Nigeria, and was commissioned early in May this year by the EFCC chairman. He was part of those who initiated that program, that radio station project, while he was Chief of Staff and later Secretary to the Commission, and fortune also made it possible for him to be the one to commission the station, which is now up and running. And for those of you who have not tuned into the station, I will invite you to tune in and let's share your experience with us in terms of feedback of what we are doing through that station. Now I will shift my focus to institutional reform. When the current chairman came on board, part of the promise that he also made to the National Assembly that his EFCC was not going to be business as usual. And when he physically resumed here, part of the first initial steps that he took was to ask all of us to declare our assets. All staff of the commission actually declared their assets. And the essence was to ensure that people live within their means. And he has took that a step further by restructuring the department that we call the Department of Internal Affairs, changing the name of that department to the Department of Ethics and Integrity. And that underlines his new focus on integrity and zero tolerance for corruption within the EFCC. We have never pretended that we don't have people within the commission that have integrity issues. The difference is that the commission is mindful of its integrity as an institution and has always taken measures to protect that integrity. The commission in the last 1 year, apart from renaming the Department of Internal Affairs, also established 2 new departments, the Department of Security and the Department of Fraud, Risk Assessment and Control. The Department of Security, the role of that is quite obvious to all of us, to take care of the security of both staff and properties of the commission across zones and headquarters. The Fraud Risk Assessment Department is part of the prevention initiative by the chairman, and the focus of that department is to look at the issue of fraud in ministries, departments, and agencies. And they are supposed to be proactive in their engagement, because the chairman realized that most of the fraud that takes place in all these agencies are largely procurement-based fraud. And he has designed a template for that department to deal with those issues even before they occur, believing that prevention of corruption is better than cure. So apart from the 2 new departments that have been created or established, the chairman also took a further step by changing the names of all the zonal commands to directorates. It's an upgrade, and directors have been appointed for all the 14 directorates that we have in the commission. For those of you who are not within the EFCC, the duty of this new change is that those who are now some of the acting directors of the directorates are people who previously were not in the mainstream operations department. You have people with legal background now leading or heading zonal directorates. That is a fundamental shift as far as the EFCC is concerned, and it has helped in bridging what used to be the gap between so-called support staff and operatives. And that was part of the promise that he made when he assumed the leadership of the commission. It's also my privilege and pleasure to also report that 3 new directorates are also being established by the commission. In the next few months, there will be new offices in Ekiti, Katsina, and Anambra State. Office accommodation have already been secured in those states for the takeoff of EFCC operations in the 3 states that I just mentioned. As part of the institutional reform that I'm talking about, the chairman also said, has also established what we call the Immigration Fraud Unit. This unit is meant to deal with issues of visa and immigration fraud in all our zonal commands and the headquarters. Also, a new unit called the Public Complaints Unit is being established to bridge the gap between the Commission and members of the public. The Public Complaint Desk is meant to process complaints by members of the public across the zonal commands and the headquarters and ensure that necessary remedial actions are taken almost immediately. And finally, in terms of institutional reform, the EFCC under Mr. Ighodalo has established an e-learning management studio at the EFCC Academy. What this studio is meant to achieve is to ensure that for those of us who go to that academy for capacity building programs and other training programs that they currently run, you not only do in-house, in-class studies, you have all the benefits of doing online studies. You can be in America and then be receiving lectures from EFCC Academy. That, for us, is a major innovation that will improve our ability to deliver cutting-edge training courses for both EFCC and other law enforcement agencies in Nigeria. Those, in a nutshell, are the brief summary of the major things that have happened under the leadership of Mr. Ighodalo as the chairman of EFCC in the last 1 year. I will share this document with you. It has more information than I have given to you in this briefing. What I've done is to simply abridge the information that I have in this document. So I will now put down the mic and then hopefully have the opportunity of taking a few questions or comments. But before I hand over the mic to my colleagues across the room to ask that question, I want to just display this document to all of us. What I have here is a copy of the EFCC annual report for 2023. Why am I doing this? A few months ago, some of us in the media reported that EFCC has consistently failed to submit annual reports to the National Assembly. That for us was very mischievous and false. In my years of being a staff of the Commission, there has never been a year that EFCC has failed to submit annual report to the National Assembly. The law says submit the annual report for the National Assembly on or before the 30th of September every year. And religiously we have done that. This is the latest one, 2003 annual report. It's black and white. So thank you. Before it's open for questions and comments.
I want to, on behalf of my colleagues, say kudos to the Commission for the relentless efforts in making sure that this country is sanitized. However, I would like to start from where the director ended his presentations. by the virtue of introduction, I'm a Pro-Wike not to daily trust newspapers. I was one of the journalists who requested that the commission should at least make it open anytime they are close to submit their reports to the National Assembly. I'm not saying you should give us a part of the report, because we all know we are in the security business. It may actually cause some kind of chaos if it is released, even though I'm not thinking it should. But with the present day of Nigeria, we know that we want to cause some of the rancors if some of the details are being shared with us. But the point I'm making is that it is expedient for us to always make it known to the journalists, to the public, through the journalists, by saying, okay, by the grace of God, September we will submit our report to the National Assembly. So with that, we will save ourselves the issues of the mischievous reports of EFCC has not submitted their own report. That is number one. Number two, sir, when you are mentioning your, when you are presenting, you mentioned critical successes that you have acquired, especially when you're talking about the PEPs, the politically exposed persons that the commission is prosecuting or that have been prosecuted. 3 ministers, 4 governors. Commendable, fantastic. But I was expecting that EFCC, who is dealing with economic crimes, should at least have done certain things regarding bank executives. Sincerely speaking, sir, presently I'm handling a lot of cases regarding bank executives. And I don't, without sounding immodest, I want to say that bank executives sometimes are even the ideal place perpetrator of these particular financial crimes we are talking about. So in all the things you have mentioned, I never heard that bank executives are being prosecuted. Is there anything being done to ensure that the bank executives who are corporates of some of the economic crimes are also being prosecuted the way some politicians are being prosecuted? Number 3, sir. I'm sorry, my colleague. I'm sorry. I want to request, sir, is it possible, because when you are mentioning the recoveries, you mentioned over 200 billion that have been recovered in the last 1 year. We know that there is poker. For all of us are grounded as far as this bit is concerned. I want to believe we know what the poker is all about. Some of these monies, I believe, are already in poker. But can you please just break it down for us, if possible, that, okay, this so amount of money has been transferred to the poker, these have been injected, like we had the other time that some amount of money, billions of naira, were given to student loan stock or something like that. So if you can just break it down for us in that order, we will appreciate. Thank you very much.
Against the background of what we talked about in terms of saving these youngsters from the body of cybercrime. The truth of the matter is that the law, as it is, does not make a distinction between lesser crimes and bigger crimes. There's nothing like that. Once the law criminalizes an offense and you commit that offense, a law must necessarily take its course. And that is the distinction that we find ourselves in relation to cybercrime. Those of you who have had the privilege of looking at either the Advanced Fraud Act or the Cybercrime Act, you will know the punishment that the law prescribes for different categories of offense under those laws. So if the EFCC has evidence against anybody that violated those laws, it is incumbent on us as law enforcement agencies to apply the law the way it is. And you know, the sign of justice, the justice is blind. You don't look at faces when you do this thing. So there's no one who will say, okay, because this young man is 16-year-old or is 19-year-old and he has committed a crime, we should excuse him. We should excuse him. No, the law has to be applied. And that is the reason why we are saying, to stop them from committing this crime, we have to look at how we can provide alternatives to them. We recognize that they have skills that can give them meaningful access in all the sectors to live comfortable lives without getting involved in criminality. Let's use that route to save them from this calamity that we currently have with us in terms of the large number of youths that are involved in cyber crime. But once they cross the bridge by committing the crime, we must apply the law. That is what the law says. The second question that you asked, he said, about the annual report, that I think that is a suggestion, it's not even a question. We're even suggesting that we should make it a media event. But I don't think the law as it is makes it possible for EFCC to make the submission in media event, because the law simply says either on or before the 30th of September, submit to the National Assembly. It didn't say why you are submitting to the National Assembly, you should call a press conference that you want to submit your report. So the duty for the EFCC is to submit. How we submit it is not the business of the media. So to say, how? The matter of how.
Because they don't say you should not go to the press conference either. It's silent, so you can use your discretion.
Like I said, it's a suggestion. You can take your suggestion or not. So that is it. But the most important thing is that we have dutifully submitted. We have always complied. Never once reported.
And we are better.
That's what I'm telling you now. That we have always.
On your website, you don't have it yet.
No, at least you are saying we have hard copy here. And we have all the hard copies of all the previous things. So if you want to access it, come to me, I will help you to access it. So the next leg of that question, we talked about PEP.
These sacred cows.
They are not sacred cows, so to speak. And I'm sure those of you who have been on this beach for a long time would recall that between 2009 and 2011, more than 5 bank executives were taken to court by the EFCC. Some of them are serving jail terms already. They are not politicians. It's just for us to look back and we realize that EFCC has never shifted focus on any sector. There are bank entities that are still being prosecuted, some that are serving jail terms, and there are also some that are still under investigation by the EFCC. What we do is that we cannot mention name until those things are concluded. So bank MDs are not immune from investigation or prosecution by the EFCC. Well, you also asked about the distribution of recovered funds. What the law mandates EFCC is to trace, recover, and also seek to be forfeiture of some of those funds. And once they are forfeited, you are mandated to pay it into the designated account by poker of the Constitution, and we have done that. What government does with the fund afterwards is the business of government, not the business of the EFCC. We cannot tell government how to invest recovered fund. If the government wants to use it for social infrastructure, fine. Social investment, fine. You mentioned the issue of investing of part of what we recover in student loan and social and consumer credit scheme. That was the decision of the Tinubu government, not the decision of the EFCC. So what our goal is to recover and give to government. What government does with the fund is purely within the remit of government. The last question is from Dr. Alabi on terrorism financing. You're asking exactly what is the success story in that area. Well, the law as it is mandates the EFCC to complement other agencies that are fighting terrorism in Nigeria. Our own mandate is to deal with terrorism financing. And there's an agency within the commission that is called SCORE, Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering. That is the body that drives terrorism financing issues within the anti-money laundering framework on behalf of the EFCC. And they've been doing tremendous work. Those of you who are really on ground in terms of reporting these bills, will know that currently Nigeria has been placed on the grey list by the Financial Action Task Force. And a lot is being done to ensure that Nigeria is taking off that list. School is working side by side with NFI to ensure that this happens. And I recall that during the Cybercrime Summit, they reported that at least they have fulfilled about 60% of the requirement to ensure that Nigeria is taking off that list. That is enormous work, and more is still being done to ensure that before the end of this year, hopefully Nigeria will exit that list. That is part of the work of the years. Thank you.
Mr. Newspaper. I have some questions. The first one is, if I recall very well, I don't think it was last month or 2 months ago, when your chairman alleged that some of your staff were involved in some fraudulent acts. And across the country, there are claims, especially from those referred to as the boys, that half of what they get through internet fraud, half of them go to the operatives who sometimes force them to part with what they have before they are released. And so they said they had documented evidence against your operatives who are involved in that. And they also claim that the lifestyle of some of your staff does not reflect the salary that they are paid. Some drive very expensive and flashy cars, own big houses, and some of these claims tally with the allegation that a good number of your agents, or in some instances staff, have been compromised. Beyond that fanfare that was done by your chairman to expose some of them who were publicly known already, what has been done so far in addressing this issue? Because there is saying that those who come to equity must come with clean hands. Are your hands clean? That's the first question. Then the second one is EFCC, as we've known over the years. I've covered EFCC for 12 years, so I have this institutional memory of what you do here. And I also know that once a government is winding down in states, EFCC usually beams its searchlights on the activities. We've seen that in Kogi, other states where they have off-season elections. But EFCC has maintained a loud silence in the case of Edo, despite all the allegations flying around that the Obaseki administration and his agents are allegedly involved in stealing state resources as part of last-minute looting, allegedly, and are they also involved in other financial crimes. But EFCC, that we know that is proactive, is allegedly looking the other way. I would love to know why that, and what you have done regarding the case of the clip. Are there ongoing investigations? Have you made some arrests? Are you waiting for the man to round up and probably escape to Italy like he did last time before he's arrested or investigated? Then lastly, sir, there are also claims that some of your agents during their operations are involved in extrajudicial, let me choose my words carefully. They somehow become too zealous and go physical with those accused of any financial crime, even when they are yet to be indicted by any committed court of law. Is your commission also doing something to ensure that beyond the reports that you file at every day, that your men and women are well trained to observe basic human rights during their operations and stop breaking into people's houses? And so in some instances, find some of them even naked. We've seen that. Thank you very much.
I want to find out, besides the 4 governors mentioned that are currently being prosecuted, how many governors, former governors, were investigated and indicted? I want to make reference to the case of Kanu. the commission investigated bribery allegation against the former governor of Kanu, who is now the chairman of APC, and was he indicted? And want to know more. Thank you.
To force. We all know that there's a portion of the EFCC Act that says if you give false information, the commission can move against you. But this is not false information, it's false allegation. But I don't want to preempt the outcome of the investigation. The case is still being investigated externally. And once we are through with that investigation, I'm sure we'll certainly keep all of us on the outcome of the EFCC investigation. So I would say, let's wait until that investigation process is concluded. The next question says, you're talking of perception, public perception of the EFCC as going after politicians rather than Yahoo. Like it said, that is an issue of perception. And perception is not reality. The record of the commission actually speaks for itself in terms of the full bouquet of cases that we have investigated. We have cases cutting across all strata of society, the high and the low, the rich and the poor. We don't segment. The next question you talked about, you said whether we are being set light on mining sector. Some of these questions, when people ask those questions here, it's worrying me because I thought that all of us are familiar with what we are doing on these beats. If you are looking at the work of the EFCC, incidentally, somebody who was the zonal commander in our Ilorin command is sitting on the table here, who is the chief of staff of the executive chairman, Mr. Mike. And all of us in the commission know that when you are talking about investigating mining activities, is the number one investigator for mining activities. A lot was done by him in Ilorin in investigating mining. And those who are still there are doing those things now. Now, in the office, they are also doing a lot of mining cases, illegal mining cases. And other zones where that thing is prevalent are also focusing in that area. So it's a new area that the commission is actually very, very much interested in, and we are firmly on ground. And those of you who also do not know, the commission has a special unit called extractive fraud unit within the EFCC. So we have built capacity in this area over time. And no other law enforcement organization in Nigeria has the competence that we have in investigating extractive fraud cases in our country. Fred Itwa, welcome.
Bless you, sir.
The first question you asked said the operative received proceeds of crime from cybercrime suspect. I don't know your source of information. Actually getting that for the first time. So it's strange to me because I know that in this commission, when it comes to dealing with the process of crime, we have rules of engagement for any operative that goes out to investigate. Once you return from where you went, you have to disclose everything that you came to the office with. And those things are documented with the exhibit file. You cannot tamper with an exhibit. It is unlawful. And if you do that, there are consequences. You could be dismissed for doing it. But I'm not going to say that we are not angels here. No. Definitely there are bad eggs within the commission. But what is different with the EFCC is that if it is established that you are involved in wrongdoing, we don't pretend, we don't close our eyes to it. There are processes and procedures for dealing with it. In my years here, I've seen colleagues who have been dismissed and prosecuted for engaging with unprofessional behavior and acts. So that is as far as I know concerning that. But if you have evidence of those things, can you come forward and take them to us? We certainly do things about it. You talked about our staff living above their means. You can look across this hall now and see staff of the EFCC. Are we different from those of you who are there? So some of you are driving some cars that I can't hear, I only dream about. This one, for instance, when I eat to, I will half of this size. But look at the size now. I can even accuse you of living above your means. That is also a matter of perception. When the work that we do here is actually very rigorous work. People have known me for more than 10 years. But this is how we can look at great every year. So it's a tough work. And you also need some level of comfort. This commission is not one of the most, we say, we are not among the top earners in terms of salary, but we are also not among the least earning agencies in Nigeria. Staff of the commission, by what we are paid, are comfortable, but not up there in terms of those top earning agencies in Nigeria. So we will expect those who work for EFCC to be able to afford the minimum comfort that our salary can give us. So that is not to say that if you find those, that's why I say it's important to justify some of these things. If you have information that so Mr. So person is living above his or her means and is the staff of the EFCC, come to us and give us that information. That is why we have Department of Ethics and Integrity. That is their job. If you have that information, share with us, share with that department. I think the email still remains dia@efcc.gov. Have they changed it? And the chairman came out to say they were going to do something about that. And things have been done about that. And professionalism has improved in terms of the conduct of our operations when we go out for, especially sting operations. So that is already addressed. And if we still see one or two cases that God may just be an aberration, not enough. So thank you for that, for doing all those issues. The last one, how far, we are talking about the investigation of former governors. There are a number of former governors that we are investigating, not only the ones that I mentioned, but the rule or our standard of operating procedures makes it inconvenient for me at this forum to share those information because their matter is still under investigation and I'm not obliged to disclose that until we are comfortable to make this information public. Thank you. The first one is about vote by what is latest on that. What all of us are aware of the enormous work that the Commission has done in terms of preventing vote trading, other selling or buying. And most of the elections that have taken place in recent times, especially off-cycle elections, we've always been there trying to ensure that people don't buy or sell votes. Apart from the deterrence value that we have had to the electoral process, I'm aware that we have done a number of prosecutions in Ekiti and I believe one or two in Osun. But there's a challenge, initially when some of those arrests were made, the Commission faced a challenge in terms of prosecuting them because the law as it is makes it the responsibility of INEC to prosecute people for electoral offenses. And so before the EFCC could go ahead, we have to get a fiat from INEC to do that. That created some kind of problem for us. But I think we have crossed that bridge now. And the message is out there that if you engage in both buying and selling, and you are arrested by the EFCC, we will not only recover what we have, we caught you with, we will also possibly be prosecuted. And that is the situation in terms of electoral offenses that relates to both trading and buying. The second leg of your question, the guy who asked that question, you wanted to know why we are focusing solely on the Ayabelu and all that. I think you got it wrong if you have followed the two cases that were filed against Ayabelu in court. there are other co-defendants in those charges. That presupposes that the focus is not just on Yahya Bello. And before Yahya Bello was, before we fight charges against Yahya Bello, for those who have followed our activities in Kogi State, you will recognize that a nephew to the governor, even his wife, were part of charges that were filed in court. The Ali Bello, for instance, is still being prosecuted by the EFCC, who is currently Yahya Bello's chief of staff. Those chief of staff, I mean. So the focus is not on Yahya Bello. Once you occupy the position of chief executive of the state, you cannot steal. You must have accomplices to be able to steal money from treasury. So there's no way you carry out investigation and you have co-defendants in the charge that they are filed. So the focus is not on Yahya Bello. He may be the number one defendant or suspect, but the other accomplices in the case. The gentleman asked about why we're not blocking sites created by youngsters on the net. Well, we must be conscious that in the area of the use of internet, there are agencies with different mandates. The EFCC is a law enforcement agency. We also have other regulatory agencies within the ICT ecosystem, and they have different responsibility to carry out. It is not the EFCC responsibility to be closing down sites. There are other regulators who do their business to do that. I think the last one that I'll talk about this morning is on the Delta Edu case. So is a straightforward thing now. We read in the papers that somebody went to court on his behalf, and the day after, the man came out to say he didn't even send a lawyer to file a charge on his behalf. And then, if I was still practicing as a journalist, the first thing I would do is to look for the lawyer. The lawyer is not is he a ghost? Is he an unknown person? Huh? It's a no person. So journalists will approach him and say, who engaged you to file the charge? That's what I expect from you, not to come and ask me. If we have something against someone, we'll talk about it. But somebody went to court to say, Sanwo has engaged me to file the charge, and the court heard the matter. And journalists have not gone after the lawyer to say, Oga, who engaged you to do this matter? That should be the story for all of us who are journalists. As regards the Peter Obi matter, I think we have briefed you guys on this before. When the investigation started, we shared information on what we have done, what we recovered in that process of investigation, and we told you that we are still on the matter, we have not concluded. I think the last time our chairman spoke, we mentioned the number of accounts that we were monitoring, that we were looking at, and those accounts were more than 40. And you know it takes time to be able to go through all that gamut of information and then to prepare to do anything for that. So those matters are still ongoing, and just, I think earlier this week I was listening to the spokesperson for the government, my former Bayo, and he said, they asked him a question, I think Shehu Kimbayo asking a question, what has been the outcome of our investigation, and he said, it was not really the outcome, but he believed that we have submitted a report to the president, and he also believed that the president acted on the report of the EFCC for taking the decision to appoint somebody else as a minister of humanitarian affairs. And I want to rely on that information because it's somebody that I respect very much. Thank you.
What of the security aspect of this?
You didn't hear what I said.
Yes,
I'll say it again, sir.
I'll say it again.
No, I think I've concluded. Thank you very much. I turn out that witness today, and the media remains number one partner that we have in this fight against corruption. All the achievements that are done, the image that the EFCC has, was built by the leader. So we continue to rely on your support to do this work. I also want to thank my colleagues who came for this briefing. I introduced earlier Mr. Gali from the Abuja Zonal Directorate. We were joined by the Chief of Staff to the Executive Chairman, Siminalayi, who previously worked in the Lawrence Zonal Command. And the last to join us is Mr. Tony Idoko, the SA Strategy to the Executive Chairman. So welcome for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much for coming, and then Dele will proceed and give you the necessary information that you need to have.